All right, hello everybody. We're going to try this again. I'm going to quickly show you how to get started on your chess sets. So everybody should take a look at the design brief that's shared to the classroom and take some time to design some really unique pieces, right? Try and stray away from just these generic, simple ones and come up with something clever. In the past, we had Adventure Time, um, Battle Cats, different cool, unique themes. So come up with a neat theme and roll with it. Do be cautious as you're working on these. Make sure that your pieces aren't too thin, right? So if we do end up 3D printing them, we don't want them to fall apart or be too difficult to print. So if you're not sure if that's possible, right, you can talk to a friend, or you can reach out to me. Go, hey, is this going to work? But rule of thumb is we want to try and keep parts of our print thicker than a pencil, and try and avoid serious overhangs because we have to use supports, right? So if this were to extend like this horse's head here, if you can see my cursor, we would have to print supports and then you'd have to remove them, which can become tricky. All right, so the first thing we're going to start in is AutoCAD, right? So we want to start with a chess set. I've got the first part here, but we'll go over the process again. So looking at our drawing, we have a rough idea for our pieces here. So this is 2-inch, right, for each of these. So 8 by 8 would make it be 16. Perhaps I want to have a buffer around the entire outside, so that would put me at a 1/4 inch maybe in either direction, which means we would add an extra 1/2 inch on each width. So rather than 16 inches, it would be 16.5. So that's this outside here being 1/4 inch, each of these being 2 inches. We're going to try that. Again, you can adjust this if you want to go smaller, like an inch. That might be a travel set for yourself. We will leave that up to you. But I'd say 2-inch. Do not go bigger than 2.5 inch, right? That tends to get ridiculous and takes up a lot of space. Okay, so jumping into AutoCAD, we're going to start here from the bottom. So I'm going to start actually with my border this time to make it a little bit easier. So I said at the start, grabbing our box tool, we're going to 0, 0, and we want to add our border. So we're going to make this 16.5 inches by 16.5 inches. Great. So this will be the outside of our chess set. So when we go to the laser, we'll set this border to be the color black, meaning that it will cut straight through. And our chess pieces on the inside, we'll either set them alternating to red or blue, blue being the quick engrave back and forth that has that nice burn, solid shape, and then the red just being the outline. All right, so I'm ready to draw. So I'm going to draw one square to start, and then we'll talk a little bit about the size of our chess pieces. So it's going to ask me for the first spot. Rather than 0, 0 this time, right, because I'm doing a 1/4 inch buffer, you might do a different border, right? That's entirely up to you. I'm going to set my first corner point to be 1/4 of an inch in by 1/4 of an inch in, and we can press enter. And you'll see now I have this little square right here. I decided that my squares were going to be 2-inch. So again, this will be different based on what you decide. You do not have to do 2 inches. I'm going to put 2 inches for my one side and then 2 inches for my other. Now, a lot of people, when they do this, they decide to use the line tool. Don't do that, right? If we draw our squares independently using the line tool, the issue that we'll encounter is going to the laser, we can't engrave them. So you end up with just very plain boxes, and it's hard to tell, which one's one color space versus the other. So we've got our box. Now we need to pattern it out. So using kind of a new tool, up here we have the array function, which we're going to use to make a pattern. But getting ahead of myself, let's talk about the size of our pieces. We can grab our circle tool up here. I'm going to work with the diameter for now, and then we'll talk about radius in a minute. So zooming in onto my square, I want to draw from the center outwards. You can kind of see that if I made a chess piece, a lot of people go, oh, it's a 2-inch square, I'll go 2 inches. Well, that's fine, but it looks kind of silly, right? And then the pieces butt up against each other. So a lot of chess pieces, they're around 1.5 inches, something like that. I found that like 1 1/4 probably is pretty appropriate for all of our pieces, or 1.3. So I'm gonna say 1 1/4. That makes it a little bit tricky to divide. So if you want to go lazy and set your radius to be 0.75, so all your pieces are 1.3. That's that math doesn't math out. That'd be okay too for you to find something that's a little bit easier. All right, that's quite all right. So let me undo that. Grab our circle tool, and I just want to decide what my pieces will be. So I'll write that down. I like 1.25. I like the way that looks, so we'll go 1.2. Oh, that looks fine to me. So we're not going to leave the circle here, but that'll be for you to use going forward. So 1.25 seems pretty good. All right, moving on, we're going to array this piece out. So up here at the top, you can grab array, and we're going to select the rectangular array. Now it'll auto-generate a little field for me, but we want to adjust that to our liking. So we're going to go 8 by 8. So change your columns and your rows to 8, and you'll see that they're pretty well spaced out. The distance between, we want to adjust to the size of the squares. That's going to be 2 inches. And then the distance between here will be 2 inches as well. And that looks pretty good. Now you'll see, because I added that 1/4 inch buffer, right, that extra 1/2 inch on the initial square I drew, we have that border around the chessboard, which looks really nice. Once you have that set up, you can press finish and close your array, and you pretty much got your chessboard. At this point, some people decide whether or not they want to add a dashed line or something like that around the border. You can absolutely do that, right? So you can go ahead and use a similar array function to create those lines. Or if you wanted to add maybe names or something around that, you can do that as well. Today, I'm going to keep it just basic, right? And so this is a file that I'm going to save. Hit Control S to save it. Going into our documents for CAD, I think it's a great idea to make a folder specifically for this project. So I'm going to create a folder, and I'm going to call this chess project. In here, we're going to go ahead and save our board as a DWG. So I'll call this, Fowler chess board.dwg. And because we're going to laser this out, or you may choose to laser this, right? So everybody in class gets to pick one project that they would like to 3D print, at least this year. I'm going to definitely try and aim to do more since we do have a plethora of filament. You want to save as a DXF just as a backup. All right, so you're going to need both file types, 2013 DXF, save that, and we're good to roll. All right, so we're done here for now, but we're ready to move on to Fusion. So you can close this out to save space on your computer. I'm just going to minimize this for now and jump into Fusion. You're going to create a new document. Each chess piece that you make is going to go in its own document here. So I'm going to go through how we would make, let's say, for example, the pawn, and then also how to make one of the royalty pieces, since some of them do have some unique features. So when we jump into here, we want to make sure that we're working in the proper units. Again, that's up to you when you want to work in. Today I'm going to be working in inches. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So when we go ahead and get started, we're going to grab our sketch from the top, and we're going to select a horizontal view. So again, standing upright, since we're going to draw our piece and revolve it. So from this view here, I'm good to get started. We decided before we liked 1.25 for our center. So I'm going to simply draw a line out, and that's going to be my 1.25. Now, the issue is when we revolve that, it's going to be double the size. So I'm going to take that line tool there, and I'm going to move it so that way it is centered, if it will allow me. If it won't allow you, since I'm having some difficulty here, sometimes this is the one little buggy feature of this. You can also just punch into here. If it'll let me select this line here, and save me some time, just divide it by 2. 625. So either way works, but we want to start off of here. I would have trimmed it anyway if it did move. So 0.625, that's half of 0.125. We're going to go ahead and drag up, or 1.25, I should say. Our main center here, this is going to be how tall my chess set or chess piece is. If we go back to our reference document, the chess piece here is 1.3 tall for the pawn. Take some freedom with this, right? I mean, you don't want your chess pieces to be enormous, like really tall. Our tallest piece here seems to be 2.5 inches. I'll let you take a little bit of freedom with that, but we don't want to go enormous. Drawing this out, we're going to go back into Fusion, so we're going to draw up our line here, which is 1.3, I believe it said. Since I am a little forgetful, yes, 1.3. So this will be our pawn piece. Now from here up, we get to create a profile. The way I describe this is like a slice of cake. If you spin it really quick, it looks like the full cake is in existence. So we're going to draw this profile out. Now, I like using the line or the fit spline tool, but you can take some of your AutoCAD knowledge over to here and get creative with it. So maybe we'll start with a circle up top for the top piece of my pawn. right? And I can quickly use that line tool to create a trim section. So this will be the first part of my pawn. And I'm going to draw a shape up to here. So by using the fit point spline, right, I can start to create a curvy shape. And go ahead and double click to end your fit point spline. I'll press escape to stop drawing, and I can grab my trim tool to cut out this middle section. And we have something that looks like a pawn, right? If you want to add, looking back at my drawing here, a little divot, right? This is where your AutoCAD knowledge again comes in. So we can go ahead and add collar or something to that effect. So jumping back into Fusion, we can go ahead and finish our sketch. You want to make sure that this turns blue. If this doesn't turn blue, that means that you didn't close out the sketch. So just go ahead and check all your points and make sure that it meshes together. Once you get your piece ready, you can go to the revolve function. And when you select it, this window should appear over here. So my profile is always what I just drew. And our axis is going to be our centermost point. And so when I rotate that out, I now get a pawn, right? So at this point, when it's rotated, you can kind of get a better idea of if, well, is this what I want to keep or do I want to roll with it? This kind of looks like a piece from Trouble. So seems okay to me. I'll press OK. You can always check the bottom here. So if I select the bottom here, I can go up to, I don't want to put a hole in it, so sorry. Underneath bodies, right? We want to name our piece first of all, I guess, before I check the sizing. Oh, properties is up, but come on now. Rename. So I'll call this pawn. If I right click on it and go to properties, it'll tell me a little bit about it. So the area, the bounding box is what we care about, right? So the bounding box is going to tell me my total height, width, and such and such. So the width and the length will be the same because it is a circular object. So the width of my base is 1.25, which I wanted because my chessboard is 2 inches. The height here is 1.5. Oh, duh, because my circle went above it. So I want a little taller than I wanted, right? I wanted that 1.3. So if I mess that up, right, we can go back into our sketch and edit it. So you can right click on this sketch here after you close out of your bounding box. Go into it, edit your sketch, and we can adjust back down. So right here is the point that I wanted that at. Again, I was having some issues with the move copy before. Watch it work now for some reason. Nope. Okay, great. So we can go ahead and make that circle again. So I'll jump down to maybe a lower point like here. Create that size that I wanted. Trim it again. Remove the excess on the inside. I don't really like it, right? But I like the height of it prior. And it should go back. So now it's giving me a warning, right? It's saying, hey, this doesn't work. If I go to review the warning, it'll tell me, hey, this profile reference is lost. Try editing the feature to reselect the profile because I did edit the profile. Now, this is something I see a lot in models where this yellow screen will pop up, and it's because you edited something earlier in the timeline that impacts later features. So you have two options. You can go to the revolve and you can edit it, and you can select the appropriate profile. So see how it says missing profiles here? And you can select it and then press OK, and it will update my piece. Or, right, you can simply delete the revolve and then redo it. Okay, those are your two options. But sometimes, right, if I've done a series of steps afterwards, you'll just create further problems. So it's important to go back and fix those issues so you don't see that later. All right, very good. So now that I have this done, I can go ahead and save this as under admin project. Again, within your thing, you may want to create a folder. This is an online folder, right? This isn't what's on my computer. So I'll call this chess pieces. Color. Save our chess pieces in there. This is going to be my pawn. We're good to roll. Now, each time you save this, it'll create a new version. So version 0, 1, etc., etc. You can share these when you turn them in, right? By going to the File and then Share option, Share link. I believe I went through this in another video that I'm going to share with you. Share the most recent version and allow the item to be downloaded. Best practice, though, when you are getting ready to 3D print is to export it yourself. So again, I went over this in the other video, but I'll show you again now. You can go to Export under the File option, and we're going to select the STL, right? STL files is pretty standard for 3D printing, so you can go ahead and export that. If you want to change the specification of where that will be, under here on the three dots, you can change where your folder will be. So under my documents, I created that folder within CAD, and I called it Chess Project. Here you may want to save that pawn version 1 STL, and you're good to go. Reminder, saving it here in Fusion, just simply saving it saves it to the cloud. It doesn't save it to your physical computer. Saving that STL will save it to your computer. If that's confusing, feel free to watch the other video I did on this, or reach out with some questions. All right, great. We got our pawn done, but we're going to get ready to do the royalty. So again, creating a new file, you can either click the plus button up here, or go up here and hit File New. We're just going to really quick whip up one of the royalty pieces. So again, rotating to my right view, or when you go to Sketch, just selecting that vertical view. We're ready to sketch our piece. Now this one, we might want to keep the base the same size, but make it a little bit taller. So again, we can go to the line tool, start from the center. We can draw out. Draw the piece. Now I had said that our pieces were going to be 1 1/4, so 1.25. And we also want to have that, divided by 2. So you can go in here and click divided by 2. It's one of my favorite features in Fusion. Just the ease of scaling things and how you can punch in fractions on the fly. So now that we have half of our base, we're ready to draw our piece. Going back to my reference document, my king or queen, right, tends to be a little bit taller. So why don't we do a 2.5 inch shape here, and we're going to go. So jumping back into Fusion, I can draw my 2.5 inch shape. Again, this is entirely up to you what you want it to look like. So 2.5, set the jet. Zoom in here, right? I see that there's a gap between my pieces, so I may want to fix that or adjust it. So I'm actually just going to redraw the line because that's going to cause issues later. So let's just delete that line itself, and we'll give it another shot. So again, drawing this line out here from here. Punch in 1.25 divided by 2. 5, there we go. And I have the outline for my piece. This one's obviously much taller. It actually looks like it might be a little top heavy. So this might be a decision for you that, hey, do I want to make my platform a little bit bigger? That's really up to you. Now I'm going to leave this top portion here to add the top part. Maybe we'll add a party hat or something for our king, queen. We'll go in here and add the topmost piece. Again, take some freedom on these designs. Create our fit point in. Great. Remember to go in and trim the excess. Make sure that your shape stays blue, however. Great. So I've got the halfway point of that. Now again, this extra portion here I'm going to come in with later, and we're going to do our revolve. Now the question I always get asked is, well, how do I do the horse head? How do I do the crown at the top? So here we're going to add a party hat on top of this. You can do the revolve, select it. Our axis is this vertical point. Great, we're starting to get our queen. Now up here, we want to add some unique feature. If you want to do something 2D, right, you can go from the right view, select your sketch, select the axes you want to draw on, zoom up here, sketch your shape. So like I said, maybe I'll make a party hat. So I'll go to my line tool, draw a shape from the center. You do want it to intersect a little bit. Oops. I'm going to mirror this line across the center so it's equal. Mirror line will be the center. Oops. So I'm going to mirror this line across my mirror line here. There we go, nice and easy. And I'm going to join those spots there. Perfect. And I can trim this excess bit and the center line, and I'm ready to extrude this. So when I go to finish sketch and I rotate, you'll see that my shape's right in the center of my drawing, right? Because I selected the rightmost face. I can select this shape here, and I can go to extrude. I'm going to change the direction to 2 sides or symmetric, and the type will be a distance. So the distance here, the panel, what it is that we want. So maybe I want to go something like that. Again, we're going to do a join. So this is not what I might do for the real project. This is just a demo. Now I have it here. A lot of people would just, draw that in the initial sketch, and then when they revolve it, they realize that, oh, it happened all the way around the whole thing. So that's an easy way to accomplish that. You may have seen that it started out as a cut. So if I did want to make this indent into the piece, I can go back into my extrude, go to edit feature, and I could change that to a cut. This is how you might accomplish a shape like you see in our bishop, where there's a slice taken out, right? That's an easy way to accomplish that. So you may want to draw another shape and do that. If you are going to extrude and add to it, I just ask that you do a join. To make sure that you're doing this and you're ending up with one solid piece, you can go into bodies and just make sure that you have one. Each chess piece should really only be one body, unless you want to have 2 separate pieces that you're going to glue together later. Because if they're separate bodies, they won't join when you printed them out. So it's really up to you if you're going to do that as a join or a cut. Again, remember to rename your piece. So I'm going to rename this to royalty, some piece, you might put king, queen, whatever. And you can go ahead and save this as a file. Reminders, saving it to the same document there. So I'll call this royalty or whatever. And export it as an STL if you'd like to 3D print it. Always make sure when you go to share and share that link that you turn on share the latest version and allow it to be downloaded. In case I don't have access to your STL, that guarantees that I should hopefully be able to get it for you. But exporting as an STL ensures that you're going to get the version that you want printed rather than whatever I end up seeing online. All right, so that's pretty much the tutorial for all of this. You're going to end up with a unique piece for each of them, which I believe is 6 pieces, if I'm remembering correctly. Yes, so there should be 6 pieces and a chessboard submitted as a DXF. If you do have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. That about covers it. Thanks very much. See you.